Are there any types of plant-based foods that you've found to be particularly beneficial in managing or reversing insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of foods that are really helpful in that regard. And I would start with, when I think about the work in the Marshall Islands, and we got a lot of little lessons from that work. And for those of you that aren't aware, the Marshall Islands research was published in Diabetologia in 2024. And we have among the best results, I think, that are out there. We had, I know, Joel, with your study, you had a reduction of 2.4 percentage points in A1C. We had a reduction of 2 percentage points. And we did an analysis that found it would have been 2.4 had we not reduced medication so much. But in terms of specific foods, I'll start with leafy greens. You just want to load up. They are such beneficial foods. Dark leafy greens should be at taking a big chunk of the plate. I would say every single day, a giant salad with a lot of leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables that cover every color of the rainbow. And then few berries on top, and then you want some sort of protein. And the best protein source for fighting diabetes is legumes. So, all of the legumes, the lentils and so forth, throw some of those on. And then where grains and starchy vegetables are concerned, we learned a lesson very quickly that those are foods that you want to control portion sizes of, especially for people that need to lose weight and who are very insulin resistant. And so we kept grains intact. So I created something called the whole grain hierarchy, where at the top of the hierarchy are intact whole grains. And these grains take your body some work to break down and to absorb. And so they impact, they have a very small impact on glycemic index, or the postprandial glycemia, compared to grains that have been, ground or flaked or puffed. And so you want grains intact as much as possible, and then control portion sizes. And even within that, you want to stress more the lower GI grains. So, for example, barley has a glycemic index under 30 compared to brown rice, which may have a glycemic index in the 80s or 90s, depending on the type of brown rice we're talking about. And so you want to be selective even within food categories. And then the other foods that I think are highly underrated and very, very valuable are nuts and seeds. And I would put seeds above nuts because they tend to be a little more nutrient dense. They have more essential fatty acids generally, and they're very high in fiber, high in protein, and just very, very valuable foods. And I think they're underappreciated in a lot of diabetes trials. And so I think they're also highly, highly valuable. They help to reduce postprandial glycemia as well. So those are all things that I think are very important to include. And then, of course, some fruits as well are important.
Of course, we're all on the same page here, but I just want to repeat something to make it clear, is that we're talking about body fat that interferes with insulin resistance, as well as the lipemic load of the meal, that the combination, pardon me, I have a dog on my lap. Anyway, she got in here. I don't know how she got in here, but anyway, the lipemic load of the meal, we're talking about when you use oil, those fats flow into the bloodstream with a load all at once. And the combination between the lipemic load with the body fat makes for insulin resistance. And when you're eating oils, those fats come in the bloodstream 30 to 50 calories a minute, versus nuts and seeds, a source of fat, 1 to 2 calories a minute. So we're getting our fat into the body gradually, so it doesn't put a huge spike of fat in the blood that makes the meal more glycemically unfavorable. And we see generally type 2 diabetes resolve, and people don't need medications with normal blood sugars in 3 to 6 weeks. Even when they're still overweight, they're eating the right foods, they haven't lost all their excess weight, and their diabetes is already gone. So it's pretty easy to repair that. And to also mention that some of the medications used for diabetes, which push the failing beta cells in the pancreas to produce more insulin to lower blood glucose, lead to increased morbidity and even mortality in diabetics. So medication is not the answer to lower blood sugar. It's really the things we're talking about here, that it's lifestyle medicine that really prolongs lifespan and also enables people to reverse diabetes, not just treat it, but get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. And I just have to add one thing, because again, in our Marshall Islands trial, we found one of the most valuable ways of reducing postprandial glycemia was moving the body after every meal. And so every time people ate, we would be out walking. We did an hour of exercise every day, but on top of that, we did the post-meal walks. And we couldn't believe the difference it made in blood glucose levels.
I can add maybe, I don't think there's too much to add, especially to the foods specifically that Brenda had mentioned, but I like to think of foods when I'm working with a patient as far as like swaps. So I look at what can we swap out and what can we replace that with? So if somebody's eating white rice with every meal, we might swap that for, well, at least a brown rice, if not a quinoa or millet or sorghum, or there's a million different whole grains out there. If they're eating meats, especially red or processed meats, swapping those for legumes or tofu or tempeh, more fiber, lower calorie density, obviously less saturated fat. Those are all positive swaps when it comes to managing blood glucose. And, you'd mentioned, Brenda, Roy Taylor's work earlier. He's demonstrated some of the greatest results probably ever as far as putting type 2 diabetes into remission. And they were basically very low calorie, vegetable and meal replacement diets. And he would do them until they were at whatever weight threshold they were going for, and then kind of reintegrate foods after that. And with weight loss being a key here, I don't know if you remember the numbers, but it was a majority who actually achieved remission. It was well over 50%.
In the direct trial, it was 46%, and it was 86%.
Oh, so it was just around 50%.
Yeah, it was 86% for people who had lost at least 15 kilos or 33 pounds. It was 57% for people at 10 to 15 kilos or 11 or 20, I guess 20 to 30 pounds or so. And then it was, I think, 30% for 5 to 10 kilos, and it was 7% for people that had lost 0 to 5 kilograms or 11 pounds. So just an absolute direct correlation with the amount of weight loss and the chances of remission. So people that lost over 15 kilos, 33 pounds, 86% of them went into remission, which is pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
You've all just heard a great scientific discussion about the effects of plant-based diets on diabetes. I'm just saying we've got a big educational job to do as far as the public's understanding, because when someone hears, oh, we got diabetes, oh, sugar, too much sugar, don't eat sugar, and that opens the door to low carb diets and all the silliness that comes from that. Then eat more fat. And the problem is not the sugar; it is the fat is the problem, clogging up the insulin receptors, and the fat that comes from the visceral fat stores as well, and so. Primary care docs who are, before you reach for that metformin prescription, talk, what is your patient eating? It's the fats and the diet, it's the oils and the meats and the dairy and that's the problem. And if we can get, that should be on highway billboards, it should be on PSA, should be on TV commercials to educate the public about healthy eating and let them know, all the folks with the high blood sugars, it's the fat that you're eating. Type 2 diabetes, even type 1 diabetes, high-fat diets still clog up whatever insulin receptors you have. So it's the fats, folks. The sugar is the tail of the dog. But don't eat refined sugars either. They're not healthy for you. They get your sugars out of the fruits and vegetables.
I think it's important to remember that sugar is converted to saturated fat if we eat too much of it. That's an important point. Second is that a lot of people think they need to do a very low-fat diet to reverse type 2 diabetes, so 10% of calories from fat. But in fact, our study from the Marshall Islands, Dr. Fuhrman's study, and Counterbalance and Counterpoint and Direct, all used diets that were slightly, Dr. Jenkins' studies have all used diets that were somewhat higher in fat. Ours was 20 to 25%. Counterpoint and Counterbalance and Direct, I think, were 19.5%, but they weren't 10% fat. And so what's more important than the percentage of calories from fat is not over-consuming calories. You know, if you reduce calories enough to get weight loss, that's a really critical thing. So you can include some nuts and seeds, as we did, as Dr. Fuhrman did. Counterbalance and Counterpoint were more liquid calories, but it was still around 20% of calories from fat. And we had greater results than the very low fat trials, like, PCRM's trials that produced a 1.38 percentage point drop in A1C. Ours was 2, Joel's was 2.4. And so I think just so you don't have to think that you have to do a 10% fat diet and you can't eat any nuts or seeds or avocados. You can, just so long as you keep calories low enough to produce weight loss and get rid of that ectopic fat in the liver and pancreas and muscle tissue.